Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is Shafaq Imtiaz, your biology teacher. I hope you're all doing good. We had started our third chapter, biodiversity, and we had discussed biodiversity and its importance. Today, we will discuss how biologists study such a variety of organisms and their differences, and what's the clever way they followed to make it easier for them to understand. So let's begin the show. Our today's topic is classification. As we discussed previously about the large number of organisms existing on this planet, among those, more than 2 million organisms are identified and their characters have been described in detail, in which zero point 0.5 million are plants and 1.5 million are animals. The remaining identified organisms are microorganisms. To study such a large number of creatures, along with the variety of characters, biologists started to arrange them in larger and smaller groups. Some organisms were placed in the same group due to sharing of similar characters, and some were placed in a different group due to the presence of different characters in their body. After identification, biologists also named the organisms, keeping in mind the characters they have. Such arrangement of organisms into groups and subgroups is called classification, and the branch of biology in which we study naming and classification of organisms into groups and subgroups is called taxonomy. Taxonomy is a Greek word in which taxa means arrangement and nomos means law. Basis of classification. Aristotle was a Greek philosopher who was the first one to classify organisms on the basis of habitat and morphology. Habitat is the place which organisms find suitable for their living. So, he classified plants as grasses, bushes, and trees. The larger plants were trees, the smaller were bushes, and the smallest were grasses. He classified animals as aquatic and terrestrial. Aquatic means water living and terrestrial means land living. This classification couldn't make sense because turtle and fish both are aquatic, but they are a lot more different from each other. Then, with time, more characters were added as basis of classifying organisms, and organisms began to be classified on the basis of physical characters like prokaryotic or eukaryotic, unicellular or multicellular, autotrophs or heterotrophs. In modern world, organisms are classified on the basis of physiology, genetics, anatomy, and evolutionary history. Let's discuss what these characters are. First is prokaryotic and eukaryotic. In the word prokaryote, pro means before and karyote is derived from karyon, which means nucleus. Prokaryotic cell has no nuclear membrane around the nucleus and no membrane bounded organelles. They have ribosomes which are smaller in size. Organelles means small organs present inside the cell. Bacteria and cyanobacteria are prokaryotes. In the word eukaryote, eu means true and karyote is derived from karyon, which means nucleus. Eukaryotic cell has membrane-bounded nucleus and membrane-bounded organelles are also present like mitochondria, and ribosomes are larger than the prokaryotic ribosomes. Animals and plants are made of eukaryotic cells. Unicellular and multicellular. Unicellular are those organisms which are made up of only one cell, and one cell is able to do all the necessary activities of life, like respiration, digestion, excretion, and reproduction, like bacteria. Multicellular organisms are those which need more than one or two cells to perform life activities. Like human beings are made of trillions of cells, and all cells are doing their job to keep us alive and healthy. Autotrophs and heterotrophs. Autotrophs or photosynthetic organisms are those which can prepare their own food by doing photosynthesis, like plants and other green organisms. Heterotrophs or non-photosynthetic are those organisms which cannot do photosynthesis and depend on other organisms for food, like animals get their food from plants and other animals. Next is genetics. Genetics is the study of heredity, means the transfer of characters from parents to their children. This happens because of the presence of hereditary material called chromosome present inside the cell. Each species has same number of chromosomes, and that number will be different from other species. Like in carrot plant, each cell has 18 chromosomes, but in a bacterial cell, only one large chromosome is present. If the number of chromosomes is different, then the characters will be different too. Anatomy. Anatomy is the internal structure. It is also different in different species. The organs inside the body may be same but different in size. Like in the given pictures, the backbone of bird is quite different from the one in fish. Another difference can be physiology. Physiology is the study of processes occurring inside the body, like in plants, the process of water intake is different than that of man. Plants do photosynthesis, which does not happen in humans. On the other hand, human beings have heart for circulation of blood, which is not present in plants. Last is evolutionary history. Evolution is the small change in structure with the passage of time, and a big change is seen after a long time. Like in the pictures given, you can see small differences among three giraffes, but if you only notice first and last giraffe, it makes a great difference in the structure. So this whole study of differences makes evolutionary history of an organism. The second picture shows evolutionary history of horse.